If you are a sales leader or an executive right now, your biggest challenge for the next fiscal year isn't just about hitting the target.
Right.
It's really about setting the foundation to even make that target possible.
Mm-hmm.
We all know Q1 sets the tone for the year, but what if I told you it determines whether you scale smoothly or just stall completely?
And that's the thing. A lot of companies treat sales hiring as this, year-round thing, an operational necessity.
But that's flawed.
It's fundamentally flawed. We're talking about timing the acquisition of top-tier talent, the best of the best, and doing it to maximize your Q3 and Q4.
Exactly. So today we are diving deep into some really critical, actionable insights. They're from an article by the sales experts called January-March, the most important hiring window of the year.
And the core idea here is pretty stark. It says January to March, that's the window. That's what determines if you hit stronger revenue in the following year. We're talking about 2026 growth.
So this isn't just a quarter for hiring.
No, this is the hiring quarter.
And the value for you listening is understanding that this window is about way more than just budget cycles.
It's defined by talent availability. It's defined by ramp time math and organizational capacity.
If you miss this window, you aren't just delaying, you're losing out entirely.
You're losing to competitors who get it.
Yeah.
It's the difference between building momentum and just constantly playing catch up.
Okay, so let's jump right into that. Segment 1, the availability of premium talent. The source makes a really compelling case for why the best candidates, the ones at the top of the leaderboard, are just way more active in Q1.
Yeah, and it's not a coincidence. It's a convergence of a few behavioral and financial factors, and they all line up right after the new year.
Okay, so what's the first one?
The most obvious is the annual bonus cycle.
Right.
High performers are getting their payouts in January, maybe early February, and that gives them the financial security, call it an exit runway, to quietly start looking around.
So it's leverage, really.
It's leverage and it's confidence. I mean, they were just validated by their current employer for being a top performer.
And now they have the cash to make a move without any pressure.
Exactly. They aren't desperate. They're discerning. They're looking for the next great opportunity.
Okay, that makes sense. And then factors 2 and 3, they tie back to their current job, right? Targets reset.
Absolutely. Targets reset and all those old frustrations, the internal politics, maybe a lack of product development, they all come rushing back when that new high-pressure quota lands on their desk.
They just look at the new year and think, I need a clean slate.
A clean slate to really maximize what they can do. And then there's that final factor, that sort of universal new year, new me confidence.
Yeah.
They performed well, they just got paid,
Yeah.
and they're using that peak moment of confidence to go find something better.
And what's really critical here, and the source hammers this home, is the exclusivity of this moment.
It is so exclusive. If you want the top 10% of salespeople, you have to approach them now. That talent pool, it's just not available in Q3 or Q4.
They're gone.
They're gone. By summer, the really exceptional people have found their new homes and they are deep into building their pipeline.
Okay, but let me push back a little.
Yeah.
If I miss this window, why can't I just pay a premium for that talent in, say, Q2?
That's a great question, and it's a really common misconception. The source addresses it directly. You can pay more, sure, but the talent you find in Q2 often falls into one of two camps. Either they were already searching but weren't top performers, or they left their last job because they failed to hit their Q1 goals and are basically running from a problem.
So the true proven top performers, they're just not on the market.
They're not. So this becomes a complete zero-sum game for elite talent.
Brutal.
It is. The source paints a very clear picture. The company that hires in January gets the top 5% of the market. They're poaching from their weaker competitors.
And the company that waits until April?
They get what the source calls the leftovers.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the company that waits until August?
They get no one.
They get no one. They're just too late.
And you're not just competing against last year's performance. You're competing against every other aggressive growth company that already knows this math.
Which leads us directly into the second point, and I think this is probably the most crucial one in the article.
The high cost of delay.
The absolutely devastating high cost of delay. And this brings us to our first real actionable insight. You have to calculate the real ramp time.
Okay, let's unpack this because the source seems to be calling out an assumption we all make. That optimistic 60-day ramp time.
Every leadership team underestimates it, and it's so consistently wrong.
Why? Why do we get it so wrong?
Because we define ramp time poorly. The source says it's not about the first closed deal.
Which is often a small, kind of meaningless win anyway.
Exactly. Ramp time has to be defined as reaching, say, 70 to 80% of quota. Stable, repeatable pipeline generation.
And for any complex B2B sale, that is almost never 60 days.
Never. It's closer to 5 or 6 months.
Okay, so let's walk through the timeline the source provides. The financial hit of waiting until April. Let's trace this out.
Let's do it. So you wait until April to start the hiring process. You're now competing for that slightly smaller Q2 talent pool.
Okay.
Let's say you find someone great. They start May 1st. They spend all of May and June just on onboarding, training, shadowing. They're productive, but they're not generating revenue.
So meaningful pipeline generation.
Yeah.
The kind that actually converts. That doesn't even start until July.
July 1st, precisely. And in sales, if your pipeline starts in July, you won't see that revenue, the actual cash, until Q4.
Wow.
That single delay, just waiting until April, just cost you the revenue impact from that role for Q1, Q2, and Q3.
It's all staggering costs.
The takeaway for any executive listening is, can you really afford to lose 3/4 of the impact from one critical sales role?
Let's try to put a number on it. Let's say the average gross annual revenue impact for a fully ramped rep is $500,000.
If that rep only gets ramped by Q4 because you hire them in Q2, you have just lost $375,000 in potential GAR impact.
From a single role.
From one role.
And if you plan to hire 10 new reps.
You've just wiped $3.75 million off your projected 2026 revenue goals.
All because you delayed the start date by 90 days. It makes those goals completely unattainable.
It really does. And this is why Q1 is so vital. A Q1 hire, someone starting in January or February, they're already contributing to the pipeline by late Q2. They're hitting real revenue in Q3.
They're giving you 2 full quarters of productivity that the other hire just doesn't.
And that gets to this idea of the compounding revenue effect.
Right, it's not just about one quarter.
No. Q1 hires drive Q3 and Q4 numbers through sheer momentum. You're building months ahead.
So trace that pipeline chain for us.
Yeah.
Because this is what separates the real growth companies from the ones who are just treading water.
Okay, so it starts with Q1 activities. All that early prospecting, the training, the territory planning, that foundational work becomes your strong Q2 pipeline.
Because it had time to mature.
Exactly. Then that mature Q2 pipeline converts, and that becomes your heavy Q3 revenue.
And that Q3 success, that's what fuels your Q4 momentum.
Precisely. Q4 success depends on having deals that are already like 70% baked when the quarter begins. And those are the deals that started as prospecting calls way back in Q1.
So if you hire in the summer, you lose that entire compounding effect.
You lose the whole thing. It's like trying to win the Super Bowl in October when you should have been drafting in January. You are perpetually playing catch-up.
You just can't get those breakout Q4 numbers that define a great year.
You can't.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the operational side. This brings us to actionable insight number 2, manager support capacity.
Right, because success isn't just about the individual rep, it's about the entire support system.
And the source says most organizations only have the management bandwidth for proper onboarding in Q1. Why is that?
Because good onboarding is just. It's really resource intensive. It takes a lot of attention, a lot of coaching.
And managers can give that time in January. The year is new, targets are fresh.
The business cycle is slower right after the holidays. It's an investment of their time, but it pays off massively.
But can't a good manager handle onboarding in Q2 if the budget only clears then?
The source is pretty clear on this. Q2 and Q3 introduce so much organizational stress that it just crushes the quality of the onboarding.
So contrast January with April for us.
In April, managers are struggling. Targets are tightening. Pipeline pressure is way up. Customer issues are starting to pile up.
So a new hire in May is joining a business that's already stressed.
Under pressure with severely limited manager bandwidth. You're launching a rep into an environment with a patient, attentive coach versus a manager who's just putting out fires all day.
So you've had to start them when the business can actually support them.
And that lack of support leads directly to actionable insight number 3, retention and certainty.
This is huge. Poor onboarding leads to early churn.
And replacing a sales hire in Q3 or Q4, I mean, that doesn't just crush your year. It pretty much guarantees you miss your annual number.
It's a catastrophic failure because you lost the rep and all the pipeline they were supposed to be building.
Right, whereas Q1 gives new reps all the ingredients they need for success and, importantly, for retention.
Time.
Time to learn the product, time to build a pipeline without crazy pressure, and time to win those early deals and feel successful. That's the engine of retention.
So the article frames Q1 hiring as a de-risking move.
It absolutely is. It de-risks the entire revenue plan. You get more certainty in your models, more control over the pipeline, and more time to course correct if something isn't working in Q2.
Which means more accurate forecasts. That's gold for any executive team. A stable sales team in Q1 protects the entire year.
It really does. You move from reacting to Q3 problems to proactively managing Q2 growth.
So this has been an incredibly deep dive. The plan that the sales experts outline is, well, it's surprisingly simple.
It is simple, but it's hard for a lot of companies to execute because of that organizational inertia. They boil it down to 4 steps.
First, hire early. January through March, that's when the premium talent is out there.
Second, onboard properly. You have to leverage that Q1 manager capacity we were just talking about.
Third, enable them quickly. Give them the tools, the product knowledge, everything they need to get going right away.
And finally, fourth, make sure they build pipeline from day one. That's what creates that critical compounding effect for Q4. The year is won or lost in Q1.
And that leads to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to take to your next leadership meeting.
Go on.
If your team isn't aggressively moving to hire right now, in Q1, how much potential 2026 revenue are you already just giving away to your competitors?
Competitors who, as a source says, are front-loading recruitment because they know the maths.
That gap right there between knowing the math and actually doing something about it, that's where market share is lost. Well, this has been a really focused deep dive into maximizing sales success, all pulled from the insights published by the sales experts.
And if you're ready to master this and achieve that sustained sales success, we really encourage you to dive deeper.
To learn more about mastering the hiring process and to access more strategies, just visit thesalesexperts.com.
It's time to move from knowledge to action.
Thank you for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.